But I'm going to ask you to be brave. Everybody here loves you. And it's okay.
You mentioned selenium before.
Yes.
The effect of lack of selenium on eyesight.
Yes, absolutely.
So does that create, or the lack of that, does that sort of like diminish our eyesight?
It definitely has an impact.
Yeah.
Yes, that's one of the minerals that is related to eye health. Yes.
And thyroid?
Selenium is implicated in a lot of different areas of our body. So all of our endocrine glands, including the thyroid gland, huge implications. It also is implicated in our brain function. So how our brain functions, it needs selenium to function properly. Our heart, for our heart to beat properly. Heart disease is huge in this country. It's really high. And a lot of that is to do, well, actually, the foundational cause of a lot of that is mineral deficiency. Calcium deficiency is the #1 cause of heart disease. Selenium deficiency plays right in there as well. So yes.
Thank you.
Well, New Zealand sort of has some records as far as certain health things aren't seen over the rest of the world in the same way that they're recorded, occurred in New Zealand. People down to the ozone layer and different things like that. What's your preference on sort of degenerative diseases or discomfort and the ease of that within New Zealand and where it comes from? So it's quite a mix. And
okay, so the question was, if I'm paraphrasing what you said here now, so tell me if I've got it right.
Okay.
So the question that I'm hearing is specifically New Zealand, right? So how do I see things in New Zealand like soil deficiency, the ozone layer, etc., impact people's health here in New Zealand, very specifically?
And how influences affect that sort of as far as how we're seeing globally as New Zealand.
Okay, so how do we stack up against the rest of the world? That kind of thing?
Yeah, well, I guess, yeah. Just what's the sort of, because I can't remember what condition it is, but then in New Zealand we have more like obesity sort of.
Actually, that's really
so
interesting.
Yeah, there's. I was talking to a person throughout the last couple of months, and they said if we could find a way to do it for New Zealand, sort of the new generations coming through, what would sort of, because it's up against the world, but like there's quite a lot in New Zealand for capacity people.
Right. So really, New Zealand compared to the rest of the world, what's going on here? So you mentioned obesity. Last year, New Zealand and Australia beat the US. They tied for #1 obesity in the world, which is astounding. Absolutely astounding. So we have an issue here that is, pretty dire, really. The level of type 2 diabetes in this country is really high. A lot of that has to do with obesity because oftentimes the two go hand in hand. Type 2 diabetes is absolutely 100% lifestyle related. So it's to do with diet, it's to do with lifestyle, what people do, lack of exercise, all of that. That is the absolute 100% cause of type 2 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes, completely different story. But type 2, absolutely reversible. And all we have to do is to take steps to change some of the choices that we've made. Yes, our soils are deficient. There are other countries whose soils are way more deficient. Australia is horrendous.
As well as the recently cancer.
Yes, levels of cancer, but I think that's more worldwide.
Yeah.
It's now said, they just upped it in the last, I think, 8 months, 9 months. Now 1 in every 2 people supposedly is going to contract cancer in their life. It was 1 in 3, they've upped it to 1 in 2. So look around. The person sitting next to you, it's either you or them, right? I mean, that's pretty horrendous when we think about it. Yeah. So how many people know someone with cancer? Or know someone who's had cancer? Every single person in the room. And yet, it doesn't have to be this way. That's the thing. We've forgotten that it doesn't have to be this way. People think when you get old, you are going to get dementia. You are going to get osteoporosis. You are going to get arthritis. That is just getting old. Rubbish. Absolute rubbish. Here's a prime example. It's true.
Just the social norms that influence.
Yeah, absolutely.
What goes around in the world, sort of culturally, ways
Culturally,
of looking at things that
yes.
are accepted as norms because they've happened over a period of time.
So we're fed information, and it comes through the media a lot, which is one of the reasons I don't watch television. A lot of it's subliminal. We don't even think about it. So we start believing that we have no control. We can't do that. We can't fix that. We can't have that. We can't be that. And so every choice we make comes out of a whole set of beliefs that we carry around with us everywhere we go. And those beliefs started being formed from the time we could hear. Naughty boy. Oh. It started way back then. Kids in the playground making fun of you. Every time something impacts us through our life, and it's all the time. Remember I talked about how somebody can say something to you and it just goes, ooh, like this? We get that all the time and we don't even know it. They're the ones we know about. There's thousands of things impacting us every day that we're not even aware of. And it makes up a belief. We unconsciously form a belief about ourselves. And then we live out of that belief thinking it's true. Why does, when somebody says something awful to you, or somebody rejects you for some reason, why does it have such an impact? Because somewhere we believe it. That's why. And yet, it's just something somebody made up. It's not who I am.
So why aren't we sure to know who we are?
Why are we not?
Why are we so insecure about not knowing who we are?
Why are we so insecure about not knowing who we are? That is an amazingly wonderful question. I don't know if I have the answer to that, but I do know a lot of it is to do with the messages that we've been given through our life.
I think the drive, I think it's the need to feel wanted or something.
Yeah, we have a need to feel wanted, a need to feel loved, and it's a very basic human need. And so if somebody wants something that we feel is going to have us be accepted and loved, then that's what we do without even thinking about it. I think that, and in so doing, sometimes we lose a part of ourselves. And when we do that often enough, then it's like, who am I? We get to that point. So I think it's a lot of different things that have us be insecure about who we are. I don't think it's any one thing. Some people are much more confident and sure about themselves than other people. And I don't know why that is, because it's not always upbringing. Sometimes it is. A lot of times it is, but not always. How many times have you read stories of people? I was reading a story just recently about somebody who, I don't know, last century or something, I don't even know who it was, somebody who was a great inventor of something, who was an orphan, and he was brought up in a very abusive situation in an orphanage. And yet he went on to be this amazing person. Why? What is it in that person? We all have that, whatever that is. It's all here. Some people are able to access it easier than others. And I don't have the answer to that. All I know is there's these little bits that I've found out through my life that I know kind of are maybe little pieces to that puzzle that can have us feel better about ourselves, that can have us have a quality of life that I wake up in the morning and go, wow, what is today gonna bring? That kind of life. What do I get to do today?
Do you believe that all mineral supplements are created equal?
No, I do not. And the reason being that in order for our body to be able to absorb and use minerals, they have to be from plants. So there are minerals come in different forms. As an example, you would not take a cast iron frying pan and scrape the iron off and eat it to bring your iron levels up. That wouldn't work. That's a very toxic form of iron. You don't want that in your system. So minerals come in different forms. And in order for our bodies to properly absorb and utilize minerals, they have to come from plants. Because plants take up minerals through their roots or through their leaves, actually both, and convert the mineral into a form that is what we call bioavailable. So it's available for our bodies to use, and it becomes water soluble, which means that it can't build up as a toxin. The body gets to use it and then flush out what it doesn't need. So that's one piece. Oftentimes, when we buy mineral supplements, they're not in a form that our bodies can utilize to its fullest. Calcium's a good example. So calcium supplements are everywhere. Everybody knows that most people need to supplement with calcium. However, the calcium that we usually get is something called, had a mental blank.
Calcium carbonate.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's something called calcium carbonate. It's chalk, right? That's what calcium carbonate is. When we take that in, our bodies can only use a very small percentage of that. The rest of it, the body has to do something with. And so what happens is we end up with things like bone spurs. That's excess calcium carbonate that our bodies cannot use. In order for our bodies, and this, I'm just talking about one thing here. This, what I'm saying, you can actually transpose to every other mineral, right? Because the story's the same with each one. In order for your body to absorb and use calcium, you need a certain amount of magnesium, you need manganese, you need phosphorus, you need potassium, you need selenium, you need zinc, you need vitamin D. In fact, your body can't even absorb calcium if you don't have vitamin D or adequate vitamin D. So there's all these things that have to be present at the same time in order for your body to take that nutrient in and use it in the way that it's meant to be used. So you take an isolated thing, like a calcium pill, it's actually a big stress on your body. Because nutrients work as a family. They have to work together. Another example, if you're anemic and you need iron supplements, and you take an iron supplement, and you take too much of an iron supplement without having what we call the cofactors, they're the other nutrients that iron needs in order for your body to absorb and use it, then it creates a huge imbalance in your body. Right? Your body can't absorb it, and so you get this, like, there's too much here. I can't do anything with it. What's going to happen? What happens is the body's always trying to find this place of what's called homeostasis, a place of balance, constantly. Body's trying to do that all the time. And so it's in a situation like that, what happens is that, oh, I need to balance this. Okay, let's drop down your copper levels so that we can at least find some kind of balance here. So it creates even more of an imbalance in your body. We need all of these things in a way that our bodies can fully use them. And we need to have them together. So does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you.
And what about the different ways that you can take supplements, like how some are living sort of supplements, or some are sourced from different parts of the world as well?
Mm-hmm.
So it might be in the soil or...
Absolutely. So supplements come from different places. Yes. A lot of them are made in labs. The vast majority of supplements are made in a lab. And pretty much all of them come from corn. That's kind of where they all start, most of them. Not all of them, but most of them. It doesn't look anything like corn when it's finished, but that's kind of the starting point. It absolutely depends on where the supplement comes from. If it is a food-based supplement, which means that it comes from a food source, and it's still somewhat like a food, then there needs to be a way, there needs to be the knowledge of how to have these nutrients in a balance and in a way that our bodies can use them. And I think part of what's been happening in our supplement industry is that that piece has been missing. That, yes, I can go and get, vitamin D, I can go and get calcium, I can go and get, whatever. But what's been missing is this piece that if you don't have the rest, this is not going to work properly. And so the best form, obviously, is plant-based, and plants that are grown in a soil that is the most nutrient-dense soil you can find. That's optimum.
So, do you believe that the hybridization of grain has a lot to do with the gluten intolerance, or has something to do with gluten intolerance? How it's just all of a sudden risen out of the blue, and look, 50 or 60 years back and there was no such thing?
Yeah, I think, yes, I do. I think there's a couple of different things. There's a huge incidence of gluten intolerance. Most people now are gluten intolerant to some degree or other. And it's probably the biggest cause of allergies. It's the cause of a lot of health breakdowns. Almost everybody in the Western world has some kind of digestive disorder, whether we're aware of it or not. So we are not digesting our food properly. Some people know that they don't. They have leaky gut syndrome, or they have indigestion, or they have, any number of different things. A lot of us, it's kind of mildish, and so we don't really think about it. But gluten plays a huge role in our health, or lack of health, I believe. One of the things that is happening now is there's a lot of information coming out about gluten and about what happens in our body when gluten starts doing its thing in here. And now, it's pretty much mainstream that most places have gluten-free products. They have gluten-free this, gluten-free that. You can go to restaurants and get a gluten-free meal. It's recognized. People know that this actually is not healthy for me. There are some people who are severely intolerant. Our daughter's one of those people. She has celiac disease, which means she can't go anywhere near it. But, I don't eat gluten because I just know that it's not good for my body. And I find now, if I do eat a little bit, that I can feel it. My stomach bloats up, I can feel it. So, yes, I think gluten plays a huge role. One of the things, coming back to what can we do in our daily life to have things show up a little better. A very simple thing we can do is to chew our food properly. It's amazing. I sit in restaurants and I watch people and I have no idea how their bodies can even function. 2 chews and it's down the hatch. Ideally, we should chew our food until it's liquid. Ideally, we should, before we swallow it. Or at least get it, mashed up enough that we don't swallow lumps that are because once it leaves here, a lot of it doesn't get digested any further. And so it ends up in the colon as toxic waste. So we're not getting the nutrients because the food's not broken down enough to have the nutrients actually extracted by our body. So that's like another layer on top of the nutrients aren't in the food to start with, and now we're not even breaking down what we are getting, right? And so we're wondering why this cascade of ill health, unhealth, is just getting more and more and more.
Adding antibiotics?
And adding antibiotics, yes, thank you. Our immune systems are shot. How many people take probiotics on a daily basis? Right, a few people. Good on you. Probiotics are the good bacteria that are supposed to live in our intestinal tract, and they form part of the foundation of our immune system. You would be surprised at the number of people walking around that basically don't have any. And what destroys these probiotics? Number one, of course, is antibiotics, right? Makes sense. So antibiotics kill everything, including the good guys. Sometimes they're necessary. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. But we need to put them back. That's what we forget. We forget that part. We need to put them back if we're going to be healthy. Otherwise, we've got nothing to fight the invaders. And we're being invaded all the time.
There's a little bit of yogurt enough, because that's what most people think.
Right, so the question is a little bit of yogurt enough? No, absolutely not. There's nowhere near enough probiotics in a full container of yogurt to feed what we need on a daily basis.
So things like the health plus probiotics.
Probiotics, any kind of probiotics, yes. I mean,
Do you think there's a difference between the dry ones and the ones that are refrigerated?
there is, I don't know. So the question is there a difference between the dry ones and the ones that are refrigerated? What I've looked at is more the difference between liquids and capsules and powders. And this is one instance where it's actually the opposite, where I found the liquids to be not as effective. When we're taking nutrients, if you can get it in a liquid form, or you get a powder that you make up into a liquid and drink, that is the best way of getting nutrients into your body. But with probiotics, it's actually the opposite. And technology is such now that shelf-stable, doesn't need to be refrigerated, shelf-stable probiotics are just as powerful. They're not all alike. Some are way more powerful than others. Some are way more effective than others. So it's kind of a matter of, you know, doing what you can to find out, really. Anybody here ever had their appendix taken out? A few people? Our appendix is where we make our probiotics. That's our nursery. Oh, wrong side. That's there. That's our nursery. That's where our probiotics are made. And forever, we were told, oh, that's like this useless thing that doesn't do anything. So we'll just take it out. Same with your tonsils. Oh, they don't do anything, we'll just take them out. Oh my goodness. This is your first line of defense against viruses and bacteria. So there's you know, all these pieces of what does it take to be healthy, and what destroys these probiotics. Number one, antibiotics. Almost up there with antibiotics is stress. Stress is the second biggest killer of probiotics in your system. Then there's things like carbon monoxide. Breathing in carbon monoxide. Anyone been around a car lately? Alcohol, tobacco, smoke, being around people that smoke or smoke yourself. I mean, all these things. Sugar, thank you. Sugar's a big one. All these things kill probiotics.
Yeah,
Chlorinated and fluoridated water, yes. Absolutely will kill your probiotics in your system. So, you know, partly you could keep going down that road and go, oh my gosh, do I have to go live in a cave? What do I do? But there are ways, you know, and the other thing is, we're strong. We are strong. We have this life force in our body. We can use it. We can utilize it. We can call on it. because it's there all the time.
How are you finding out what you're short of then? How would you know?
How would you know what you're short of?
Yeah.
Well, there are ways to find out. I mean, you can have tests done to find out. But for me, what I see is that pretty much everybody's in the same boat when it comes to nutrient deficiency, basic nutrient deficiency, which means all of your minerals, the basic vitamins, essential fatty acids, all of the things that we need, amino acids, which are huge because we don't digest protein properly, so most of us are way deficient. So all of these things are basic to every human body. And every body is different, right? We all have different needs. There are always our own unique thing that's going on for us. But underneath that, there's a bottom line that's the same for everybody. And that's the probiotics and the basic nutrients.
Well,
Yeah.
slightly different subject. Where do you sit with blood type diets and how
Okay.
balance of blood type?
Yep, so where do I sit with blood
Is it another
type
social
diet?
norm that's been put out there, or has it got some background behind it?
Okay, so the blood type diet, it's a theory. It's never actually been proven. What I've seen is that it does have some validity. However, I've also seen that there's a lot of flaws in it as well. So it's, again, it kind of comes back to a choice. Some people swear by it and really feel that it's made a big difference for them. I know some people have tried it and felt like it really didn't do much for them. I've worked with a lot of people who, there are certain things in the blood type diet that if you're this particular blood type, then you shouldn't be having that, or these are the things you ideally should be eating, that kind of thing. There's recommendations. Sometimes when it gets to that, for me, I would much rather look at the person and say, okay, what is this individual needing? What is it that you need right now? What is it that can enhance your life right now? Rather than a generalized thing like that. But that's just me, So you did ask what's my opinion. That's just my opinion. Yeah.
People that think like glandular fever, swine flu, all sorts of things that really do attack your immune system. And obviously you look for different things in different areas, like different nutrient supplements. And it obviously takes a lot more, in my opinion, I think, to build that back up.
Absolutely.
How would you know the difference of one product being able to help a lot more than another product? As in, if I went and tried a product, and I think it's going to give me everything that I need, how would I know individually that that's going to be enough for me if I've had like glandular fever and stuff?
That's a really good question. So the question is, how do I know which product actually is, if I'm taking a product, how do I know if this is the product for me that's going to give me what I need? And my best answer for that is, how do you feel? That's my best answer. I feel for me that this is the best lab on the planet. And one of the things that, again, we've kind of become disconnected to is ourselves. We've stopped listening to ourselves. We have the answers. We just don't know that we have. And our bodies tell us when something works and when something doesn't. It's not always clear, but how you feel in yourself. Do you feel better? Do you feel clearer? Do you have a little more energy? Do you not ache quite so much? So how you're actually feeling in your body, to me, is the best test. And sometimes it takes a while. You know, so it really is trial and error a lot of time. But trusting that, how do I feel? And with anything, you really need to give your body at least 3 months. Because it takes that long for something good to really start doing its work to the point where you can feel it.
We broached the subject of stress before, and we all know, those of us who live in Christchurch, how the earthquakes have affected us.
Yes.
I could just share a little bit of my story, if that's okay.
Oh, please, that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you be willing to come up here and share in front of everyone so we didn't have to turn around? Thank you, that would be lovely. Thank you so much.
My name's Mike. I was a fit and healthy person before the earthquakes. 2011, it took its toll on all of us, I think, in some degree or another. 12 months after the earthquakes, I was diagnosed as being hypothyroid, mainly due to stress. Stress did it to me. There was no other thing there. It was just, that was it. I've constantly fought with doctors since that day to try and find a way to get myself healthy again. Doctors will say, take thyroxine. That's the only answer. That's the pill that they give you for thyroid conditions. I've known Brian and Vivian here for a wee while now, and
Mike, can I just ask you,
yeah.
What were you feeling when you had this hypothyroid?
I had no energy whatsoever. I was depressed. I was cold. I always had cold hands, cold feet all the time. I was just so unwell. I couldn't even move. I wasn't working. I couldn't work. I got to that stage. I just couldn't do anything. After taking thyroxine for a little bit, I sort of started to feel okay, and I went back to work part-time. And I've since gone on to working full-time. Full-time got too much to me, and I had to cut back. I was tired. 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I wanted to go down and have a wee rest. I was tired out. 9 o'clock at night, I went home, had dinner. By 9 o'clock at night, I wanted to go to bed. I was exhausted. I've tried supplements upon supplements. Some things worked. I developed Hashimoto's, what they call Hashimoto's disease, after having thyroid problems. Also leaky gut syndrome, which is, you get this horrible burning sensation in your stomach the whole time. So continually I was taking probiotics, and I still take those every day. It's helped my leaky gut. I no longer have that anymore. My Hashimoto's antibodies have decreased, so when you have a blood test for Hashimoto's, you have an antibodies test, and it was skyrocketed through the roof. Mine's right down to nothing now, just about. A few months ago, I was at work and I decided I just couldn't do 5 days a week anymore. I dropped down to 4 days a week because I was so exhausted. And I talked to Brian and Vivian, and they said, well, we've been trying this stuff, this vitamin mineral product, give it a go. And I thought, well, why not? I've got nothing to lose. If it makes me feel better, all well and good. So I did. 6 weeks ago I started on this product, and I'm no longer tired at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I can work all day, and in fact I'm going back on 5 days a week.
And it's 9 o'clock now.
It's 9 o'clock now, I'd be in bed. I'd be that exhausted now, I'd had my dinner, I just want to go to bed. I'm up to 11 o'clock at night now, I still have energy.
Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah, and it's just a testament, and like I say, I've only been on this product for 6 weeks now, And you did mention that probably 3 months. But I'm feeling great. What can I say?
That's amazing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So that's a beautiful example of, you know, this is what can happen. So we are at the top of the hour, everyone, and we said we'd finish at 9 o'clock. So we're going to be hanging around for a little while if you want to hang around for a little while. If you have any questions that you want to ask or anything you want to share, we'll be here. So thank you for coming. Thank you for your attention. And yeah, just create a wonderful life.